Let's start with NEVI, and as you know, most of your listeners, presumably know by NEVI stands for the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program. It was part of the IIJA, which means it was a law passed by Congress, and there's a specific reason I mention that. And, so over the last couple of weeks, the Trump administration first issued an executive order that specifically called out various programs, including charging programs and the NEVI program, and basically pausing it or attempting to pause it. And then a week later, and I don't even remember what day it is now. I think it was Tuesday or late last week. I can't even remember. I'm so fried. The Federal Highway Administration issued a memo also basically saying that they are pausing the NEVI program. And that's where it gets really complicated and confusing. So, and Sean Duffy, who is the new Secretary of the Department of Transportation, was, it was last Thursday. Now it's all coming back to me. Was on Fox Business News on Friday, and it was a really insightful interview because he actually explained part of it very clearly, that yes, he and FHWA/DOT cannot stop, rescind, claw back, stop funding, etc. in NEVI. Only Congress can do that because it's a law, right? So, there was a lot of confusion. Everybody's out there saying no,
Right.
Trump can't do it if he did. And he supported that. He's very clear that, yes, this is a law. Only Congress can change it. However, a lot of the states posted, on their websites, due to the executive order, we're pausing, blah, blah, blah. And then the memo came out and they added that sort of thing. And so they're all sort of confused. But the thing that FHWA and Duffy can do is actually revise the rules of the actual execution of the NEVI program. So to step back and
that's a huge call out too.
yeah. So
Exactly.
to step back and make that clear is that only Congress, can basically say we're pulling back it's actually not 5 billion. It's about 5.12 billion that's going to the states because there's money for the Joint Office, and some other programs and stuff. So it's under 4.2 billion that's actually going out over 4 years, or excuse me, over 5 fiscal years to the states. So only Congress can say, nope, we're pulling that back, But back in so I think it was December of 2021, IAJ was passed. So NEVI basically became part of the law. But it wasn't until February 28th, I believe it was, the last day of February in 2023, when the final NEVI rules and requirements were basically published, right? So I like to say, there's like BCAD, like whatever it is that, this would be, I guess, the AD, I don't know, is that, NEVI really didn't start until, let's say, March 1st of 2023, because even though NEVI program was out there and states were starting to do things, they actually didn't know what the final rules and requires. They had like a template. They knew it was probably going to be things like every 50 miles and forward 50 kW, but they didn't know is NACS going to be required.
Right. There was there's so much change is still happening in the industry and
so
specific to it. Yeah.
what are you're going to have credit card readers? No, you only have to have contactless payment. All of the minutia detail. In fact, sort of a funny anecdote is Ohio was the very first state to actually issue a NEVI RFP, and they did so in late 2022. I think it was October or November. I used to be able to remember all of the stuff in my head, but I can't anymore. And so what happened was then the rules came out, and the final rules came out in late February that had some differences of what they were assuming and had in their RFP. And so they required all the companies who had submitted RFPs to resubmit them. And I had one client who submitted 20 separate, site location applications. And just one is a lot of work, right? They were not happy. They had to resubmit all 20. But at any rate, so that sort of, was when the program really started. But the point of that is what can happen and what is being paused right now by Duffy and FHWA. In essence, those rules and requirements. And so there's, in essence, 90-day pause. They're going to look and review of that, those rules and requirements of the program, and potentially and supposedly they're seeking input from the industry, and will come out and issue new guidance, if you will. And so what's happened, and then we'll come back to what could be some of those changes. What's happened is the states are basically pulling their hair out. They're confused. They're nervous. They're not sure what to do, et cetera. They're getting conflicting advice. They're interpreting it differently. I've talked to some of my customers who are companies that are applicants and that are actually negotiating contracts with several states. And what one customer told me was that they're seeing a red state, blue state divide. So many of the blue states are basically saying the NEVI program is not paused. It can't be paused. Right. And it was very clear. Duffy made it very clear on the Fox Business News interview that if there is a contract in place, we're not stopping that. Right. Like
Right.
it's a legal contract between the state and the applicant. And so you can move forward. So sites that are under construction, sites that haven't even started, but there's a contract between the state, it's approved, everything, those can all move forward. And so,
Do you
yeah,
know?
go ahead.
Do you know what roughly that number is?
So let's actually step back
Okay.
and sort of 1,000 sites have been awarded